can watch the video as well as Dr. Safir's video on the same topic is also present.
Oh, okay, sir.
So as I said, this subject is very important and very easy as well. Uh, it has two portions, theory and lab. So in theory, we will talk about reinforced concrete in more depth, design elements in more detail, while in lab portion, more focus will be on properties of concrete, properties of plain concrete. And some jobs are designed where you will learn some physical properties of cement and coarse aggregates, all the ingredients of concrete, plain concrete will be taught to you, their relevant specifications, American Standard of Testing and Materials, ASTM specifications we are going to follow, and what jobs you will perform, that will be given to you, a brief summary and introduction about those jobs in lab portion. I will discuss here more about mechanics of reinforced concrete. So reinforced concrete is a composite material. It is a composite of steel and concrete. Steel and concrete. So it is a composite material. So through bond between steel and concrete, this composite action is developed. So basics will be discussed here. And since two materials are involved, steel and concrete, so for both materials, their stress-strain relationships, stress-strain curves, we will also discuss. Then the stress blocks, because in reinforced concrete members, when they are subjected to bending moment and shear force on their cross sections, stresses will be developed, and those stresses we want to calculate on how much depth compression stress is present due to bending and how much tensile stress is present, and their equilibrium, that whether the compression stress and tensile stress multiplied with the area on which those stresses are present are giving us equilibrium, because compression stress into area will give me compression force, and tension stress on the cross section into area will give me tensile force, and both are equal to maintain the equilibrium. So that is important. So that we want to discuss in detail, because in design actually we will be designing the cross sections, and on sections stresses we are going to calculate. Behavior of reinforced concrete members, including columns, beams, slabs at service loads and at ultimate loads, we are going to discuss. But as I said, here in this subject we will focus more on beams and slabs, while columns we are going to discuss in detail in PRC2 next semester subject. Both design methodologies, allowable stress design and ultimate strength design, we will discuss here. Specifications, codes of practice and design loads we will discuss with reference to code and specifications, ASTM specifications we will follow, and regarding code I will also share with you latest code published in 2019, Building Code Requirements for Structural Concrete, ACI 318 committee, and published in 2019, and its commentary as well is present in the same document. So that we are going to follow. Textbooks which you will read are referring to this building code requirements for structural concrete. So there are various chapters in this document, and if you look at the chapters, you will find that there is one chapter on beams, chapter 9. There are two chapters on slabs, one-way slabs, chapter 7, and two-way slabs, chapter 8. And then furthermore, columns and foundations and diaphragms, there are chapters. On plain concrete, which as I said in lab you will focus more on plain concrete, chapter 14 is here. And structure analysis is chapter 6. Loads which are important to be considered for design of a structure. Regarding loads, guidelines are available in chapter 5. So in this way, each and every chapter of ACI will be important. And finally, in your civil engineering, you have to consult this document. Chapter 25 describes reinforcement details. And chapter 22 on sectional strength, concrete design and durability requirements, chapter 19. So I may say that all the chapters are important, but in case you want to check something, you want to study some guideline code requirements on beams, you will have to check chapter 9. So in 9, then further scope, general design limits, required strength, design strength, reinforcement limits, reinforcement detailing, non-pre-stressed one-way joist systems, and then finally deep beams. All are summarized inside. So this kind of document is very much important, and without building code, you will not be able to design the structure. So with the information available in code, you will be actually following the codal requirements, and your design will be approved once you will mention that you have followed the ACI 318 2019 publication. After every few years, these codes are revised. So the previous publication of ACI was uploaded in 2014. After 2014, almost 5 to 6 years after 2014, this 19 publication was uploaded. normally after every 3 years they republish the code based on the latest findings. Some guidelines are improved. So the codes, as I said, that 2019 of ACI will be discussed here. And then obviously analysis, design and detailing according to ACI 2019 we will be studying here. Rest are the topics which are relevant to columns, which we will discuss in PRC2. When we talk about design of a beam, bending moment and shear force both are important, and not only the flexural design, shear design will also be carried out. So both flexure and shear design we will discuss here. In terms of textbooks, all the textbooks published on reinforced concrete you can study, but please make sure that whether the author has updated the book according to the latest ACI code, which is 2019. There are two books, to my knowledge, where the authors have uploaded the content according to the latest ACI code. One out of them is Concrete Structures by Z.A. Siddiqui, our ex-professor, Part 1 and Part 2. You can read that book on Google Book, and its hard form is also available in the library, and you can purchase it as well. It is not very expensive. There is one other book on the same topic, Reinforced Concrete, by 7th edition, Theory and Design, Structural Concrete Theory and Design, and author is Muhammad Nadeem. And this book also is updated and copyright 2020 by John Willey. And in this book you will find that author is referring to 2019 publication of ACI. So in that way this book is also quite useful. While the books which are given here, like 13th edition of Nilsson or 6th edition of McGregor or 5th edition of Navai, these are good books, very good books, but in some cases you will find that they are not referring to the latest code. So some equations, empirical, based on latest research, they are not actually in agreement with the latest code. So in order to understand the mechanics, these are very good books, particularly by McGregor, James G. McGregor. But this sixth edition is actually referring to 2011 publication of ACI. So if the authors will update, will republish their book on the latest available code, then that will become more valuable. While solving the problems, you will be more happy because the latest equations are used. There are revisions made over the years, and particularly on shear, some equations are revised and some detailing requirements, some revisions are made in the codes. How to check whether in the code revisions are made? Let me just explain that when you are reading a code, if you find that along the text there are solid bold vertical lines present along the text, so these lines actually indicate that changes have been made here in comparison with previous publication, like this 5.2.2 in ACI 2014 will be different in some aspects to ACI 5.2.2 2019. So wherever changes are occurring, they are putting solid bold line along the text. So reader can quickly understand that there is a paragraph, there is a change which is made, and if he is referring to the latest code, then he must check what was the previous guideline and what changes have been made based on the latest wisdom and research. So in this way, you will find that in 2019, in most of the portions, there are lines along the text in modeling assumptions and the chapters. For example, as I earlier said, chapter 9 beams. In beams chapter, you will find that with reference to 2014, there is a change here in 9.3.1.1.1, and then there is a change here in 9.3.3.1. So if you have 2014 and 2019 both publications, then you can compare them, what change is there, and this way you can quickly understand the new item or new research or new guidelines. So like here again in beams, AS minimum reinforcement in cross sections, there is some change here. Or here, as I said, in shear reinforcement, major changes are incorporated. So you will find that slides shared with you along with these textbooks or reference books are quite useful. Most of them you can download online. Their copies are available, and you can use PDF directory, or from main library you can also get their hard form from reference section, or from book bank you may get part 1 and part 2 of Z. Siddiqui. or otherwise you can download their soft forms. I can also share the copies with you. Now let's start with the concrete first. Concrete is a mixture of cement and aggregate.